Hi everyone. Welcome to Turkish series stars. All the details are in our video. Don't forget to subscribe to Turkish series stars and share this video before we dive in. Thank you so much. Cemre Arda's New Year's Eve post didn't just land on a timeline, it detonated across the tabloids. For so long, Cemre guarded her private life like a locked room, smiling for cameras while keeping the door firmly shut. Then, as the old year sighed its last breath, she chose a single photo and pressed share. In seconds, the image began to ripple through fan pages and gossip columns, read not as a festive snapshot but as the curtain rise for a new chapter. Naturally, the spotlight swung toward one person, Gawkberg Yıldırım. The moment Cemre's post went live, whispers turned into a hum. What had shifted between them? Was there a quiet break, a final pause, something hard enough to be heard even in silence? Those claims of a hard break multiplied as the night went on. In the photo, Cemre Arda glowed with a calm that didn't need translation. She wasn't theatrically happy, she was composed, lit by warm lights, wearing an expression that said she was both present and done with what weighed her down. Hearts and fireworks struggled to keep up with the flood of likes. Comments poured in, dissecting every nuance, the choice of a simple caption, the angle of her smile, the clear, steady energy she radiated. The phrase that kept returning was simple and sharp. The past is closed. That reading fed an old story into a new fire. Fans remembered how her name and Gawkberg Yıldırım's had once circled the same rumors, the same red carpets, the same speculative headlines. Now they decided, with a certainty that only the internet can manufacture, that Cemre had turned the page and pressed it flat. Gossip columnists argued the shot wasn't just a seasonal pose at all, but a signature on the end of a long, muted paragraph. Polite silence finally giving way to one clean statement. And what of Gawkberg? As the post climbed the trending lists, he remained motionless online. No comment, no like, not even a cryptic story. The absence spoke louder with every minute, as fans swapped theories and pundits chimed in. Silence is an answer, they wrote, fueling a fresh round of speculation that lapped against both their names. The fan base fractured along familiar lines. One camp insisted Cemre had every right to share a moment of joy without anyone assigning a thesis to it. The other was convinced the timing and tone were deliberate, a message packaged in glittering lights and posted at exactly the hour when endings and beginnings collide. New Year's Eve is a symbol, they said. Could this be coincidence? Or was it the clearest message yet, directed at Gawkberg Yıldırım with surgical precision? No matter the discourse, one truth stuck. Cemre has always been careful. When asked about her private world, she'd lean on a firm boundary and smile, reminding everyone, I don't have to share everything that happens in my life with everyone. That was her way. Yet this time, she chose a different move. Without an interview or a prepared statement, she let a single image speak. The surprise rippled through her followers. The photo felt like a quiet declaration, I'm here, I'm steady, and I'm moving on. Meanwhile, Gawkberg waited. At least, that's how it looked. Whether he would step forward with a response or let the speculation keep circling remained unclear. Editors hovered, fans refreshed feeds, and every hour of his silence became its own headline. For the moment, all anyone could discuss was the New Year's Eve post and the shockwaves it sent through the gossip world. In the days that followed, another pattern emerged. Cemre's new posts carried the same current, brisk, bright, and unapologetically self-possessed. She looked like someone who had chosen her path and was now walking it at her own pace. Followers wrote that she'd started the year alone but unshakably strong, that doubt had no seat at her table anymore. The supportive messages stacked up, colleagues dropping subtle hearts, friends adding encouraging lines, fans calling her an anchor. The bond between her and the people who admire her seemed sharper, more intimate. Then came the rumor that lingers at the edge of every celebrity timeline. A shift in priorities. Word spread that Cemre had decided to turn her whole focus toward her career. Talks for new projects, readings, late-night scripts, she was said to be all in. The private sphere, according to insiders, was a door she'd chosen to close for now. Over on the other side of the story, people attached to Gawkberg called the choice unexpected. Those who hunt for certainty decided the combination, a sharpened stance and a calendar full of work, meant a full separation was no longer just a rumor. It felt, to many, like a conclusion. Through it, Gawkberg Yıldırım said nothing. No press note, no live stream, no hint of a counter-message. That pause only fed the narrative that Cemre's post was more than festive. Sources who claimed proximity to her inner circle offered a quiet note. She wanted to let go of old resentments, to clean a shelf that had collected dust and weight. The photo, they said, was a farewell without words, a symbolic end written in light. The industry loved that line, silent but effective, and repeated it until it became an epigraph. So all eyes returned to her, as they always do when a star refuses to explain herself. Would a new interview put shape to the theories? Would another post hand out breadcrumbs? In a way, the answers barely mattered. What everyone understood was that a single image had altered the map. Cemre Arda would be the conversation for a long time, whether she joined it or not. That quiet stance, controlled, decisive, became the talking point itself. It was labeled the most powerful response a public figure could deliver in an era of relentless commentary. The choice to avoid reactive statements suggested strategy, not indecision. On social media, the refrain kept echoing, "She's focused on what comes next, not what used to be." The message touched people who saw in her posture something they needed, the idea that you can close a door without slamming it. And yet, on the other side, uncertainty hovered like mist. Leaks from around Gawkberg sketched a portrait of surprise. He hadn't expected such weight to be placed on that one post, the insiders said. He'd misread the stillness for softness and watched as the interpretation hardened in real time. To some in the celebrity orbit, this was the hardest blow. No dramatic scene, no shouted words, just a withdrawal so clean that it left little room for revisiting the past. Many concluded that the odds of seeing them linked again were narrowing by the day. The effect on Cemre's public image was undeniable. She wasn't simply a leading actress navigating rumor, she was a woman asserting control over her story. Fans wanted to call it a breakup saga, but much of her audience read it as something gentler and deeper. A chapter of self-discovery written in the space where explanations usually go. The idea that Cemre was starting anew, in work and in life, dominated columns from the very first week of the year and churned steadily in the showbiz bloodstream. Every update, even the smallest, turned into a clue. A wardrobe choice, a line in a caption, a location tag, they all fed the narrative. The New Year's Eve photo took on new meaning with each glance. People projected onto it their own theories of love and timing, of boundaries and bravery. The conversation lost none of its heat as days stretched on. Meanwhile, behind the screens, her inner circle did what strong circles do. They liked her posts with quiet fervor, sent her private messages, made sure she felt held. Colleagues lifted her in subtle ways, and friends nudged her forward. The murmur in industry corners was simple: Cemre has a team, and the team is steady. Word filtered out that she spent the first days of the year mostly by herself, no crowded dinners, no extravagant escapes. It wasn't loneliness, it was a pause for renewal. She was catching her breath, setting her rhythm, and choosing what would travel with her into the months ahead. And still, the question pulsed, would Gawkberg break his silence? For now, there was nothing. The longer it stayed that way, the more people read into it. Some argued that his restraint was respect. Others took it as a sign that the distance was final, that there were no back doors left open. The wheel kept turning because that's what the wheel does, and in the churn, Cemre's presence remained luminous. What makes this moment so compelling is how ordinary and electric it is at once. A photo, a caption, a holiday, and somehow that was enough to reset a narrative. Perhaps it's the power of timing. Perhaps it's the way a person looks when they are done justifying themselves. Or maybe it's the starkness of a truth spoken without words, that sometimes the clearest boundary is the one drawn in silence. Where the story goes next is anyone's guess. Maybe an interview appears in a few weeks with measured reflections and careful phrasing. Maybe another post lands unexpectedly and confirms what many already believe. Or maybe nothing public happens at all, and the true shift completes itself quietly while cameras watch a closed door. For now, one certainty remains. What changed did so without spectacle, and that, oddly enough, is what made it so loud. In the thick of all this, the entertainment press is doing what it always does, reading tea leaves, revisiting old quotes, stitching timelines together in late-night meetings. But even seasoned columnists admit this feels different. There's a maturity to it, a refusal to turn private pain into a public theater. The audience senses it, too, which is why the reactions have been so swift and so soft at the same time. People are not only curious, they are affected. And as for Cemre, each day she arrives online with the same centered energy. Nothing explosive, nothing jarring, but a consistency that carries its own calm. She looks like someone who made a promise to herself and intends to keep it. The work rumors grow louder. Scripts pile up, and names of directors float in comment threads like confetti. She's moving, and that, more than anything, is the headline. As the weeks stretch forward, it's likely that even the smallest glimpse will keep sparking conversation. A table read. A candid on a set. A brief clip of laughter in a car between takes. All of it will be parsed as either proof of total independence or evidence of a clean, quiet closure. In every possible version, the New Year's Eve post remains the pivot. The story returns to it again and again, the way a compass needle finds north. If you strip away the noise, a simple arc emerges. A woman who kept her life private chose one carefully crafted moment to signal a change. The person most associated with her in the public imagination stayed silent, surprising some and confirming others. The public, faced with a narrative that didn't follow the script of dramatic confession, found itself drawn in precisely because it was not fed the usual spectacle. That restraint, hers and his, has been the most arresting part of all. And yet, even in restraint, the emotional charge is undeniable. Fans who grew attached to the idea of them together are grieving a possibility. Others who admire Cemre's resolve are celebrating a woman reclaiming her time. Through it all, nobody can ignore the gravity of those holiday hours, when one post carried more than sparkle and countdowns. It carried a decision. We reach, then, the present tense, where very little is spoken aloud and almost everything is inferred. Cemre Arda, carrying herself with the same serene certainty that sparked the whirlwind, stays focused. Gawkberg Yıldırım, threaded through the narrative by simple association and lingering affection, remains quiet. Between them stretches a space that neither exploits. Perhaps that is the lesson the public wasn't expecting, that dignity can be as compelling as drama, that you can say goodbye without saying a word. We'll be watching, of course, as new hints drift in and all the small things accrue meaning. Whether a direct statement arrives or the silence holds, the arc already feels drawn. What started as a holiday post has become a reference point, a carefully lit sign at the end of an old road. And yes, it will be discussed for a long time. That is the nature of such moments, they echo. This brings us to the end of our video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to Turkish Series Stars and share this video. See you next time, and take care.